Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Moving to Texas team here with another episode of the Real Advice podcast. I am excited for this week's guest and the knowledge that he is going to share with us. He's an experienced sales expert with over 20 years of experience in sales, management, and leadership, and is known as a relationship builder with a results-driven approach. He and his team are dedicated to putting their clients' needs first and providing them with the best service possible. And because of that, they've sold over 800 homes over his career in Nevada. Please join me welcoming Mike Rowland to the show. What's going on?
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Awesome. So, Mike, for someone who doesn't know you, with a sales background and things like that, how did you make the transition into real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I did what a lot of real estate agents I think do. We just stumble into it. Like plan A didn't work, so this is like plan B is my backup. Being in Vegas and a bigger guy, I'm 6'5", and back then I was like 350 pounds. So I was more security. I would be like, front door, guest list guy for most of these clubs. I did that pretty much all in my 20s. I finessed my way behind the bar with all the pretty girls in bikinis at this country bar and ended up like management. That's when I met my wife, Molly. And, it got pretty evident at that point where, I could continue going down this path in the nightlife industry, but it was going to be full of, cigarette smoke and late nights and getting home at 4 a.m. and just really wasn't happy. And I was kind of depressed too, because like in that scene, a lot of drinking, a lot of partying, and just not a lot of sunlight. And so that's what I was doing. And like I said, I kind of stumbled into it after that. We kind of said, hey, I'm going to try this real estate thing, because me and her had bought a house. We went through the process. My broker at the time, he showed up in a pretty nice car, superficially. I'm like, man, I want to do what this guy does, right? He seems to be doing well.
Yeah.
And so I got in his ear and I was like, hey man, I'm thinking about getting my license. Could I work under you? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Sure thing. So I did that, got licensed, worked under him for about a year and a half. Great guy, but ended up not really working out. It felt like I was, he taught me a lot, but most of it was kind of like trial and error and just kind of figuring out on your own. And I had, at that point, I had pretty much trained the whole brokerage on like the new CRMs, the new systems we were using, like evolving tech that obviously is rampant in this industry. And I was just, I wanted to go somewhere with a little more freedom because I wanted to run my own team. And under that umbrella, it just didn't seem like it was going to be a possibility. So I switched over and I've been with my new company ever since for about 6 years now. And yeah, it's been phenomenal. It's been it's surprising. I didn't come from like a sales background, but a lot of this is just people. And if you can deal with drunk people on a Saturday night, you can usually deal with anybody. So
well, and I'm thinking that like the negotiation skills that you probably had, getting people out of the bar or the club probably were more difficult than negotiating a sales contract with another agent. Sometimes I would think, but
oh, absolutely, yeah, it's a cakewalk, and it's you got to be a chameleon. Everyone, you got to be best friends with everybody, even if you can't stand them. And that's the nature of real estate, right? You don't get to pick your clients for the most part. You just show up and you got to win them over, especially in this day and age. Like sometimes it depends on your style of real estate, but a lot of times, like, they don't really vet these people, that these agents that they're working with. Like they click on a property online, you end up in their CRM. As long as you get in front of them and, you are slightly agreeable or they like you in some capacity, you should probably win the business. But that's a lot for even some agents. Like it's remarkable. Like all I have to do is go and meet them and not screw it up. And yet somehow they do it anyways. I don't know what they're doing on some of these showings, but like, yeah, it's interesting.
So, what is your current makeup of your team as far as like lead pillars and things like that today for y'all?
Yeah, so we're one of the 7 teams in town that has the Zillow Flex account. So it's awesome. It's pros and cons, right? With almost anything, there's always going to be that. But that's been a big pillar of ours just because it's exclusive. They just in October switched priorities to Flex teams. So there were 11, now we're down to 7. So like they load up the teams that are out here. So that's always good. I do a lot of, generate like for my website, PPC, Facebook, so social media. I sprinkle that in as well. I've got a couple different accounts. The Upnest account has been a pretty good account for the seller leads out here in Vegas. I don't know if that's available in all markets, but it's a surprise. It's a good one. It just came up like last year, and we've been crushing it. And then of course, past clients. That's over 50% of our transactions last year. So we make sure to dote on them. Client appreciation events, quarterly, touches, birthdays, home anniversaries, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So a ton to unpack. I want to I guess start with the things that you said last and we'll kind of work our way backwards. So client events, for agents that have been in the business for a while and, are selling hundreds of homes per year, you have a budget, you're bringing in income to be able to do past client events and client appreciation activities. Like if I were a newer agent, just getting started or, had been in the business for a little bit of time, what advice would you give as far as like client events on a budget?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as far as the events go, I mean, you can do something as simple as, the pie giveaway is the most popular one. Everyone seems to do that, but it's the most effective. And I made the error initially of inviting my entire past clients and giving them options. So it was like pecan pie, apple pie, pumpkin pie. And that was difficult to kind of keep up with. And also like a pecan pie is like 22 bucks. A pumpkin pie is $8. So then you start thinking, all right. And then the
Everyone says pecan. You're like, shit.
I know, right? I get all these damn pecan pies. And so then also one other thing too, apple pies, come to find out, they mold relatively quickly. The very first pie giveaway I ever had, after we ended up giving them all away, I noticed that one of the two apple pies that were left over had like a little speckle of mold. So
Oh God.
I was the lucky guy. I got to call all of the apple pie people and let them know, hey, check your those pies, make sure there wasn't any mold. Luckily, nobody found any, but that was
Yeah.
very humiliating. And so, needless to say, I don't do apple pies. I don't do pecan pies. You get a pumpkin pie. That's what you're getting. If you want it, you can come get it. And
Yeah.
I just load up and I get like hundreds of them. So I think that's the best one. If you want to start with it, just have them come to your office. It depends on how many past clients you have. If you've got the bandwidth and you want to go hand deliver it, knock yourself out, but it's not realistic. If at a certain
Yeah.
point, obviously they need to come to you, and it's a good way of just them stopping by. And it's shocking too. Like I always say this, where it's an $8 pumpkin pie, but people are driving like an hour, 2 hours from like, these podunk towns just to come get a pie. Cause it's not so much the pie, it's the fact that they were thought of, and people
Yeah.
love that. And they will refer you until the moon and back if you just do these little simple things. And beyond that, like the free stuff, like we talk about a budget, like it doesn't kill you and it doesn't cost anything to call them once a quarter. Just say, hey, how's the neighborhood? There's a new restaurant that just opened up. I thought of you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then just remember their anniversary and their birthday. And I don't mean, automated. Sure, you can, but like give them
Yeah.
a call, 1 or 2 days out, and just say, hey, I'm thinking of you. Wanted to wish you a wonderful and happy birthday. And then one last thing. Again, this is going to be a little bit more expensive, but not really in terms of like percentages as far as what we make per transaction.
Hmm.
Client Giant has always been a
Yeah.
popular one and one that I like. $100 a month. That's the one I always opt for. And they send out quarterly gifts on your behalf. They're always thoughtful. They're cute ideas, and it keeps you, front and center, top of mind.
Well, and what I like about the Client Giant ones is that they are like curated a little bit, right? So it's not something that, you would probably go out and make yourself kind of thing. And it's, kind of done for you once you kind of plug everyone into the system. So shout out to Client Giant on that.
For sure.
Um, I love when people have advice and it's like quirky advice, like don't do apple pie because they mold quickly. And like as soon as you said that, I was gonna interrupt you and be like, and how do we know this? Because it's like it's always those mistakes and those things that happen that you're like, shit, I am never doing this again. And anyone that's been in the business for a while or done client events for a while, like has one or two of those nuggets that are like, this happened and it was not good.
Totally. A life lesson. It's one thing I'll never forget, and I'll damn sure never do the apple pie giveaway again. So it's just,
Yeah.
so.
I do love an apple pie though, so that's unfortunate. I just eat it so quickly that it's never moldy in my kitchen. It's gone. It's gone same day when I'm going back for like thirds and fourths of pie. But
I'm right there.
all right, so you guys do a decent amount of like past clients, which is great. Because those obviously referrals from people and them transacting again are such a high conversion rate. You mentioned a lot of different online leads, right? So Zillow, PPC, social media ads and things like that. What would be like a couple tips that you would give for agents that are looking to convert those? Because like, you hear often like, oh, well, these leads are shit, right? Like, oh, these leads suck. And it's really, they're just not ready today, right? So like what advice would you give to someone on converting online leads?
Yeah, it's just understanding, what that lead looks like. If we're talking or comparing a Zillow or Realtor.com lead to a PPC lead, they're just different conversations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're going to pay a premium, for the Zillows and Realtor.coms. They'll convert in 30, 60, 90 days, but you're going to pay top dollar for them. PPC is kind of one of those where it's a little bit more expensive than like your run of the mill Facebook, but the lead quality is better. And yeah, in our market, it's about 400 days on average for those to close. So I always just tell my agents up front, like, listen, this is the long play. Like, that's why we have Zillow and PPC. These Zillow ones are going to pop pretty immediate, right? But we're going to get your pipeline up. We're going to fatten that up to where, like, in a year or two, once you've been in the system long enough, these things are just popping routinely. So they just have to understand what that process looks like. But I mean, like, it's all about the follow-up. And that's the biggest thing where most agents that don't succeed just fail to understand that. And I'm not talking 2 or 3 phone calls and an email. Like, you have to be borderline ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, psycho follow-up status. Like, I think the average out here is like 12 call attempts before you get a hold of them. And you got to understand something too. Like, put yourself in the shoes of the consumer nowadays. If they put their information online, they leave their name, number, and email, they are getting inundated with phone calls from lenders.
Sure. You're not the only website. Yeah.
There's 20 different agents just calling them. So what would you do if all of a sudden your phone was ringing off the hook? You would stop answering. You're like, screw this. Like, I'm going off the grid here for a bit. Like, this is crazy. And then on day 4 and day 5, day 7, day 10, it starts to slow down a little bit. And the ones that continue to stick around and make those calls, that's when you find success. So that's why it takes those additional phone calls, but you have to hang in there. You're rarely going to get them on the first attempt.
Yeah, I think that I've seen the stats, right, of like the amount of agents that are calling 0, 1, 2, 3, up to 20 times or whatever, right? And then the conversion percentage, significantly increases the more attempts that are made. But the people, I think most people don't call more than 5 times. Most people don't even call once, right? But it's interesting to see those numbers, and I think the persistence is the biggest thing. And so when you said 400 days. Is that for a PPC from when it comes in to when they're transacting or closing?
On average, lead acquisition to close.
Okay.
About 400 days for us.
Interesting. I love those stats because then you can kind of train around that, right? And coach around that with your agents. So that's one thing that, I love tracking numbers of things and having that accountability so that, you're able to provide those numbers. Okay, so you said the other lead source that you were talking about is like UpNest and things like that. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think UpNest is one of those that like you're signed up for and then you pay a referral fee at closing. Is that?
Yeah. And you have to like offer a certain enticing like listing percentage, and that's negotiable, and that can change when you get to the appointment. But they're not going to click on you, unfortunately. If you're asking just like a 6% listing agreement, that's what you're offering. They're not going to hit you up on that. So yeah, it does sting a little bit as far as having to sometimes discount it and then also pay a referral on top. It can be frustrating, but again, you got to think big picture too. Like, more sticks in the yard, more opportunities.
And that's what I was gonna say. So digging a little bit deeper on that, like when you guys get a listing, commission aside and money aside, what are the things that y'all are doing to leverage that for more listings?
Yeah, so I mean, QR codes on your listing signs, obviously, like capturing information for every single interested buyer that drives by that property. Brochures in the little pamphlet holder. Obviously, that gets a lot of calls just because my agent's not doing that. But honestly, like, a lot of it's just like, instead of just treating it as a listing that you're looking to sell, like, that you're also taking advantage of all the leads that are coming in and following up just like they were any other lead. And then, of course, it goes without saying, as far as farming that particular area or just sending out just listed, just solds, highly effective. We haven't done this yet, but my buddy, he's doing it. He said he's getting success. It's just voicemail drops in mass for the subdivision. So you just close 123 Main Street, you call 100 homes and just a voicemail drop. Hey, we just closed 123 Main Street for a record price, interested in blah, blah, blah. And so, we do that as well. So we try to, unfortunately, like, sometimes, there's no excuse, but we do get a little busy to where we're not able to leverage the listings as much as we would like. But I guess that's a good problem.
Yeah, it's tough. When we saw like things starting to slow down, in, I guess that would have been like 2022, and moving into 2023, that was when we were like, okay, we've got to go back to doing all the things, right? Like, we have to hit the list and even if the seller wants it listed today, like, then all hands on deck to start doing the things, because we knew that with longer days on market, we needed to step up our marketing to get to as many eyes on the property as possible.
Right. Just to stand out.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so as far as building the team, how long have you had the team?
So I've had the team, I guess if you could call it a team, probably for like 4 years, maybe
Okay.
5, but it was very small. It was me, admin, and maybe an agent that would just help with the overflow.
Awesome. And so as far as like starting the team, having an admin, having another agent, I feel like that's one of the best ways to kind of kick things off. But what advice would you give to someone if they were kind of at that crossroads, right? And they're like, okay, I need to do something because I don't have enough time, I don't have enough bandwidth to help the clients that want me to help them. Whether it's starting a team or leveraging somehow, how would you advise them?
Yeah, that's something I was talking to a guy at the gym today about. He wants to get like an assistant full time, 40 hours a week, and I was like, what all would you have, him or her do? And he started to tell me a couple things, but had trouble like filling a 40-hour work week. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hey man, you don't have to fill this position immediately. And also, like, I would strongly consider a virtual assistant to start with.
Hmm.
They're 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, but they do great work. They're, it's a little bit more difficult to track, but there's software available that'll let you know how many hours that they're working, what percentage they are spending on certain websites, and making sure that they're not goofing around on Yahoo or something like that. And they'll do a lot of these administrative tasks that you just don't have time to do. And then what I would do is start them on 20 hours, maybe 30 hours.
Yeah.
And once you get them up to 40 hours and you have an avatar of what you're looking for as far as that assistant goes, then you can plug in a real person. I'm also a big fan like of showing partners. Like they're basically on salary and they get like a little small bonus on every deal that they handle.
Yeah.
My current one, I don't even call her my showing partner. She's my managing partner because she's literally my partner. She's brilliant. I've been working with her for like 8 years. I'm lucky to have her. But she really will do most of everything. You know what I mean? She'll call them, she'll convert them, she'll handle the escrow, closing, everything. And it's a trade-off. Sorry, my fault. Um, sorry about that. Okay. Yeah. So, where was I even at?
Yeah. So out of curiosity, you're saying that your partner, showing partner, or as you jokingly say, managing partner, like, is doing a lot and has been with you for many years. Have they always been in that role, or yeah, have they always been in that role?
Yeah, so not initially. So she was initially like just my admin. That's where it
Okay.
started. She would help out with like the TC stuff, helping me run comps, just administrative things. And then recently, because that's what she liked to do. Where she was at in her life, she had kids in school. She didn't want to have to be driving around, right? And she
Yeah.
liked the consistent pay of a salary, and then just some bonuses per file. Recently, her last kid graduated, so she's like, I got time, like let's do this. And she's like, I would have loved to have her in this position sooner,
Yeah.
but she just didn't want it. And now she just kind of wants to be kept busy. And it's one of these things too, where like, yeah, sure, they make less considerably than what they would make if they were a regular agent, but they wouldn't have that consistent salary. And they wouldn't have like a ton of the clientele that we have, because a lot of it's just my SOI, right? So they can go and they can try to piece it together, maybe do like 4 to 8 deals in a year, or you're getting a piece of literally 40, 50 transactions plus salary, like that consistent income that
Yeah.
so many people strive for in this industry.
Well, no, and that's interesting too that the role has changed over the years, and I think that in a lot of teams that I talk to, I see that, right? That, maybe you come in doing one thing, and then as, the organization needs other things and as your life changes, like, you can sometimes adjust your duties and responsibilities and stuff like that. So that's cool that y'all have worked together for so long, because that's, I feel like a little rare in this industry.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have her. Same with my ops manager I've had since the inception of the team. Like I've worked with them like in some capacity since the beginning. Like when I say the team's been around for 5 years, but like, I wouldn't really say the team like was a thing until 5 years, but I had still been working with, Amber, who's my ops manager, giving her opportunities when I couldn't service certain clients. And like I said, Charmaine's been doing my paperwork since I can remember. I'm just fortunate to have both of them. Very lucky.
Well, and so what I'm hearing you say too is like even before you had a team with agents and things like that, you had admin support and you had people that were helping you to, sell a lot of homes every year.
Yeah, and kind of to piggyback what you just mentioned too, like how things evolve, like that's a big thing I tell agents also. Like, don't think that you need to have everything figured out before you attack, like before you start putting action behind it. Like, just put something together. It's going to be sloppy, but eventually you'll figure it out, because that's truly, like I always mention, like Netflix, for example. Netflix initially, their business model was they were sending you DVDs in the mail, right? Or Amazon, they were an online bookstore. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Fast forward to now, look at them.
Yeah.
Completely different business models, highly successful business models. But if they just sat back and they waited for everything to be perfect, they'd never launch, and we'd
Yeah.
never even know about them. But they just said, you know what, screw it. We're going to do this. We're going to mess up along the way, and we're going to put the pieces together as we go. And that's exactly what they did. And I think every entrepreneur needs to have that mindset. Is it's not going to be perfect, and that's fine. But just go out there and continually put action towards your goals, and eventually you'll piece it together.
What's the ready, fire, aim, I think is
Yeah,
the saying on that. I think that so many people just don't want to start or are scared to start, or, I know I do it too sometimes, right? Where I'm like, okay, well, we need to have all of these things lined up, but it's like sometimes you just need to commit to doing it and at least get some action going so that you can get some momentum.
totally. 100% agree.
Um, That's awesome. So you mentioned as well that social media is another kind of lead pillar that you guys have. And so how has that changed or evolved over time? Because I feel like even in the past like couple years, social media has changed a lot. So what I see a lot of video content, that y'all are putting out and things like that. So how has social evolved for you in your career?
Yeah, so with social, it used to be like when I was especially newer, because you could get, Facebook leads for less than $1. I just loaded up with those, but then I'd find out like, man, these really are super hard to convert. And trust me, I'm calling them. They just don't answer. It's bad information or
Yeah.
whatever. So, and then it's gotten even worse because it's so saturated now, to where I kind of gave up on lead acquisition in regards to social media, but I
Yeah.
do a lot of remarketing, retargeting through social media. So if you're my database, obviously you're going to see all my stuff, and it's just adding to the brand, the credibility of the brand. But more specifically, what we're doing in the social media world is a lot more recruiting based, just because that's your demographic of just real estate agents. So I usually will push out content regarding just usually content that's good for somebody who's new or struggling in the industry, like free ways of getting business or open house strategies, like stuff that's like, a lot of us learn, those are the basics, but some of these agents, they don't learn the basics, they're just thrown out there and they're supposed to figure it out. So it's like, I give them the free game, and if they like it, then maybe they want to schedule an interview and meet with me. And, if they're a good fit, they join the team. So I find that's been my most success in the social media world, is just recruitment and agent attraction. And I kind of got away from overall lead acquisition, but it's important. You should still be remarketing, retargeting to all of your leads in your database.
Well, I mean, and when you think about social media, it's like if I'm scrolling on social, I'm not really thinking about buying a home. I may see a cool home and click on it, right? And potentially give you my information, right? But like my intent on social is to either, be entertained or informed or whatever. Like it's not looking for my next home, right? So it's just like it's not, the intent isn't there like
Right.
if you were googling like homes for sale in Henderson, right? So totally get it. We ran them for a while and used to be able to get pretty specific, and so again, the retargeting game is great, and running ads on people that have already been to your website or been to different places is definitely a
Yeah.
good move.
And you nailed it too. Like it literally is, when you're on Instagram or Facebook, you're just picture clicking. That's all you're doing. And then what happens is if you click the picture, it auto fills the bullcrap
And then you
information.
just
Yeah. And you're like, all right, cool. I just want to see, what the pool looks like or whatever. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's so bad. Like, and then that's why I talk to team members sometimes, or I talk to would-be team members. Like, yeah, they promised me leads at this other spot. And I'm like, what kind? Like, that's an important conversation to have, because
yeah.
I can give you, I'll load you up. I'll give you 20, 30 a day if you want. It's going to cost me 15 cents because I'm getting them through Facebook.
So along those same lines, you said that you are getting a lot of agents from social and things like that. And so I'm sure you talk to a lot of agents, right? As you're looking to grow the team and all that, right?
Yep.
And so if I were a brand new agent, just got my license, and I were like looking for a brokerage or looking for a team to join, what would be the top like 2 or 3 questions that I should ask you, like as my team lead?
Yeah, I mean, obviously leads are important. What kind of leads? A lot of people get hung up on commissions, like what are your splits? It's fine, I understand, like that's important, but I'd ask what your agent's making instead. Obviously, if you can have the best split in the world, but if you're doing zero business, it doesn't really equate. So that's a better question. What do your agents make annually on average? Like a year one agent, year two agent, year three agent? And
Yeah.
then what do you provide that other companies may not provide? In my instance, we do mentorship. That's huge. Like that one-on-one hand holding, that accountability piece is massive. Again, in the real estate world, like you can fog a mirror, you can join my brokerage. I don't care. Like it doesn't cost me a penny to bring you on because I'm not giving you leads. It doesn't take any time because I'm not giving you guidance or mentorship. Like just come on in and hopefully sell a house to your sister or brother, and you'll be out in 2 years like 93% of you. So it's just like that's kind of where we're at. So my value proposition is a little bit different. But I also invest quite a bit financially with my time, energy, my mentors, which are like two of my top producers. We invest a lot in them. So we just want to make sure that they're a good fit. So it does go both ways. We're not that type of team that just brings on any agent. Like they have to be
Yeah.
a good fit.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I think that it's important. And one thing that I always tell people when they're interviewing or I talk to them or they just ask for advice is like, as an agent, like you're interviewing the brokerages just as much as like, if you're the broker and team lead and I'm the agent, like as much as you are making sure that I'm a good fit for you, like the road goes both ways, right? And so, where you said many will just let anyone join, you want to make sure that you're figuring out what is the best fit and asking questions. And I really like asking how much agents make, right, as opposed to the splits, because very many people get hung up on splits, but 100% of zero is still zero.
Yeah, I always flip it on them when they ask me that. I'm like, it's a great question, and I asked the same question when I was in their seat, 8 years ago. What are the splits? But I mean, think beyond that. It's not just about splits. It's about overall income. What are you doing? How many deals are you closing?
Yeah, for sure. So question for you on like personal development front and things like that. Is there anything that you like listen to or read or like pay attention to on like the personal development side?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm a big time reader. When I go to the gym, I typically will do like a low, steady incline on the treadmill to where I can still read.
Oh, like physically with a.
Yeah, I still like the hard copy books.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, I've never switched to the dark side. I like to keep them too. Like it's nice. I put them on my
Yeah,
bookshelf and
I've
I
got some
can I
books.
can loan it out. Yeah, there you go. Nice. Yeah. I mean, if there's a new book that comes out, I typically have my hands on it. My issue is like I feel like sometimes I go through them too quickly and I don't implement, or like I'll find myself finishing a book and then like weeks later, people are like, hey, what'd you get out of that book? And I can't even recite a single anything. It's like there's no implementation. It's just overwhelming abundance of
Lots
information.
of words.
Yeah. So my best, what I genuinely enjoy as far as just like personal development is just surrounding yourself. I think that's the biggest thing with people who are like-minded individuals. We were connected through Rachel Novak, her husband, Mike Novak, and then another buddy, Colton Whitney. I'm out of California. We all have real estate companies, real estate teams, and we're the leads. And we're also big proponents of fitness. We like to get in the gym, but also like everybody else, we struggle getting up in the morning. You know what I mean? It's the grind.
Yeah.
And so what we did was last year we put together an accountability group where we have to check in. It's with an app called Marco Polo. It's just a video like text message service. And I got a hey guys, I'm up at 4 a.m, Monday through Friday. They have to do the same to me, just saying, hey, we're up and at it. We're about to hit the gym. If they don't, or if I don't, I got to Venmo them each $50. So it's $100 per missed check-in. And this really helped as far as getting me up earlier because it was a
For
struggle.
sure.
But when there's money on the line and you have your buddies that are in the battle with you, that it just makes it that much easier. And you kind of don't want to let them down, and it's reciprocated. So I think that accountability piece and having a good tribe around you is the biggest part of personal development. But books and podcasts, I'm a big fan of Jocko. Anything real estate related, I'm going to listen to. Ed Milet as well. I love that guy. You name it. I'm probably interested in some capacity.
For sure. I love Ed Milet. I saw him at a conference, actually in Vegas, I think, a few years back, and so I've been a huge fan since. I always feel like when you hear someone speak live, or you go to a concert or something like that, right? Like it increases my like for someone, and respect for them after I've kind of heard them. So this is a completely unrelated question, but obviously I know Novak and I know Colton. Where would you say your arm size ranks between them?
That's a great question. So yeah, we do the measurements. So
Yeah.
Colton's a little bit smaller. That
Okay.
dude looks like he's chiseled out of granite. Like he's a beautiful specimen. I tell him all the time. And he's probably under 200. I'm 270 pounds, but
Okay.
I'm 6'5". Mike Novak is about 255, 260 pounds, and he's, I think, 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that dude is all mass, all muscle. So I'm gonna go Colton. I love you, but your arms are a little bit smaller than mine, than me, and then Novak.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. And I don't even know if Colton's that beautiful, but his arms are very nice. So, you know, if you're listening, buddy, we love you, but you know. All
Yeah,
right, sorry. I had to throw that in because I knew the connection through Novak. I knew that y'all were all in the fitness realm together, so had to throw that in. And of course, take a shot at Colton whenever I can.
yeah, you could
All
take
right.
it.
So I'll hit you with the one last question that I ask everyone on the pod, and that is, if it was your last meal, what would you be eating?
Ah, that's an awesome question. Yeah. I guess I'm gonna be lame and probably just say like a T-bone steak, potatoes, like, and then some sort of super fatty like dessert brownie a la mode with ice cream, like a hot chocolatey brownie with like loads of vanilla ice cream on top of it. That would probably be my go-to. And then certain days like sushi, but like
Yeah.
not I'm not a picky eater. I'll eat anything really, and I enjoy it for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess if it was my last meal, I'd have to say a T-bone steak, potatoes, and some fatty dessert.
I love it. I would be a fan of that as well. If someone doesn't already follow you on social, where is the best place for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so my Instagram or Facebook is Mike Rowland, just my name. I also have the team account, the Roland team. That's going to be an Instagram handle, and then the Unlikely Agent is a podcast as well that I run, and there's also an Instagram page. They all have Facebook pages too. So Mike Rowland, the Roland team, or the Unlikely Agent is where you'll find me.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I appreciate you so much for sharing and look forward to hopefully seeing you sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was fun. I appreciate you.